All right. Hello and welcome. My name is Doyle Buehler, and this is the Digital Leadership Breakthrough Show. And today I'm actually with fantastic author, entrepreneur, Gene Hammett, and he's going to be joining us very, very shortly to talk about getting recognized, building the authority, becoming the expert and being noticed as well. And, what would happen if you were the market leader, and what would it be like? And pursue what matters most in your business and how to make a difference with your digital strategy through enhancing and embracing your digital leadership. I help explorers, enterprise, and entrepreneurs scale, grow, and disrupt their business sales through digital leadership, and I'm the author of the book on digital strategy called Digital Delusion. So what will you get out of this? Finding what real-world digital strategy will actually work for your business. So as I mentioned in today's show, I'm welcoming Gene Hammett, who is author of the book, The Trap of Success, and that actually just came out yesterday, Gene, right?
Tuesday,
okay, and it's Friday. So how's it going? Welcome to the show.
it's busy. My inbox has never been so hectic, which is great things, but I can't get to everyone. So if you do know me, I apologize if I haven't gotten back yet.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, tell us a little bit of your background. Where do you come from, the business side of things, and where you're headed?
Right. I'm a coach. I work with people, individually in the trenches, if you will. I have some group kind of options, but I really work with them on this aspect of be the choice. And a lot of this came from, I ran my own business for 9 years. I did over 30 million in sales, 30, 40 million. And every year we would spend a couple $100,000 with our marketing agencies and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Back in 2001, 2002, it was early days of PPC and all of that stuff. And I was not as well-to-do about where I was spending my money. I was making so much money, but I would spend it. They were big on promises and not really big on the solutions. And so when I had something major happen in my life, which is the reason I wrote the book about this, the Trap of Success, I decided to work with service-based businesses specifically on this aspect of be the choice. Part of it is I want them to get amazing results with their clients. I don't want them to just do the work. I want them to actually have results so that clients are so proud that they're talking about it to everyone they know.
Yeah, and that's a big ask. So you how did you get that business to that size then, if we can just kind of talk about that for a moment?
I learned to not try to be all things to all people.
Okay. So
I had a business coach in 2002, and I put this inside the book. I haven't mentioned this, so I'll throw it up here in case everyone.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't know if the delay here or whatnot, but I had a business coach ask me one powerful question. I was at $1 million, and I had a lot of problems. I had a lot of people mouths I was feeding, and I woke up every day, and it was all problems. And I was more of a firefighter than a CEO. And this is a very common thing across business growth and scalability. But she asked me this question: who are your most profitable customers? I didn't have an answer to that. But that's a really good question.
That is a good question, yeah.
If you've got a lot of problems, some of those customers, we all know the 80-20 rule, are some of those customers ones that should not be customers? So I was able to go back into my data, look at my traffic, look at everything I was doing. I literally remember sitting in a coffee shop. I know exactly where I was. I know the seat I was sitting in when I was like, this is stupid. I need to focus my business on the right set of customers. I need to stop doing all the other stuff. So I systematically took my business from this wide, down to a very slice of the market. And that's where I zoned in on my profitability and the way I service my clients and built systems around that.
Yeah. So was it a specific type of business that you were working with, or a behavior, or like a personality, or?
It was a little bit different. Every industry is going to have its own little peculiar elements. I ran an e-commerce business for tickets and sports tours.
For what, sorry?
Tickets and sports tours. So if you name the biggest sporting event in the world, what's the biggest sporting event, Dave Doyle?
In the U.S.,
whatever,
it would be like Super Bowl. Yeah.
So I would take anywhere from 300 to 700 people.
Yeah.
I would take 300 to 700 people to the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I would take 1,200 people to the Masters. I would take thousands and thousands to the Olympics. So in the beginning, it wasn't necessarily a set of customers. It was those events I was focused on. In the very first year, to get to 1 million, I did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of events, probably 600 to 700 events across that year, because I'm marketing to every kind of event out there, and I was spending a lot of money on marketing and a lot of problems. Instead, over the years, I zoned in to about 6 events a year. I said, think about that. 6 events in 1 year is like having 6 primary customers. I can focus on them and serve them to the highest degree, and that's where I built my business success.
I see. Okay, cool. And so now you're sort of telling other people how to do that and how to build success and that sort of thing.
It's a little different because it's not about events, right? It's about the types of customers they're going after. So let me give you an example. I just got a text from one of my clients, and I won't say who, but they work in SEO for e-commerce companies. Pretty clear, right? Yeah. They do SEO for e-commerce. It wasn't like that in the beginning. In the beginning is we do marketing for people who have money. And marketing is big.
That's easy enough.
People that have money, that's big. And so they were really pulled in many directions. And this one company was able to position their business for e-commerce for SEO. Now, I know that's narrow, purposely, on purpose. It is focused. They have become the recognized expert.
Well, there's kind of the thought too that I hear a lot talking with businesses and entrepreneurs is that they come to the conclusion that if they're too narrow, then nobody's going to kind of see them and nobody's going to notice them, and their business is actually going to reduce in size. And it's a really common myth or delusion or whatever. How do you overcome mindset?
It is a mindset issue because it goes back to they don't want to limit themselves. And it's the thinking that I can do it across many spaces, and if I limit myself, I will lose opportunity. The truth behind this is if you focus, you will allow yourself more opportunity, because we all know business is about relationships. Business is about, really that knowing that you can actually solve the problem. And one of the key aspects of this from an insider standpoint, when we start to move into these topics, is when you're seen as an insider to who you're trying to work with, as opposed to an outsider, the world changes. Very simply, like when you are seen as an insider to that community, I gave an example of the e-commerce company. One of my clients speaks on stages and he writes for different e-commerce media outlets and whatnot. He is an insider to that space. He's not someone who is trying to work their way in.
Yeah.
He is the choice in his market.
So it's a lot of bringing in that or finding that niche and then finding sort of that, becoming that insider as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, that's really about, so there's 6 core principles to actually being the choice. And I'll share with you the 6 principles. Let me set it up though a little bit. In order for companies to feel like we are the choice, we hear this word resonate, right? It's a good word, right? And resonate, we know that we buy some people we resonate, or we read their stuff, or we listen to their music if it's in the music world. We feel it in our soul and our bones. And resonate is a good description, but it's not a plan. Like, can you put on your to-do list, like, I'm going to resonate
today. Yeah. Maybe I will. See what happens.
The next step behind that is, well, to resonate to me is to emotionally connect. How do you emotionally or drawn into someone, either their frustrations or their desire to move forward? How do you really reflect that you understand them? And then this aspect of connection is about being an insider. It's about belonging and being a part of that. Yeah. And so if you really look at what you're doing as your business, do you emotionally connect? So the 6 core principles kind of go into that deeper, but I want to stop right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a really good point, is understanding the context of the steps that you need to take is really important.
And I'll mention too here, I'm as they say, marketing agnostic. On stages, I ask, what's your number one marketing strategy? There are many strategies out there.
There are, and so there's.
Right? We could list off 10 just in seconds, right? And they all work better when you emotionally connect or resonate with the prospect.
Yes.
So this is foundational pieces into the strategy of making your webinars work better, make your writing, whether it be videos, whether it be speaking, whether it be paid or unpaid or social, whether it be books, whether it be podcasts, all of it works better if you're emotionally connecting. So I want to make
that makes perfect sense. And in the digital space, we're kind of left with, not everybody, but a lot of the inclination over the years has been to make it completely automated and completely digital. And it's like, well, guess what? That's not going to help, right? You can kind of automate the technology, but you can't automate that relationship. So yeah, I fully agree that you have to have that emotion in there. Otherwise there's not going to be that harmony. There's not going to be that connection.
Right. Harmony is a good word there. I love that. I may have to borrow that from you, Doyle.
Okay, no problem.
So the 6 core principles are, most people understand them very clearly, the first 3 anyway. Audience, story, and helpful content, right? Anybody who believes in creating content knows it needs to be helpful or valuable. We know to tell stories because stories emotionally connect, and it allows us to give case studies. It allows us to really express ourselves. But also, audience is that key factor that, we started this conversation. How'd you get from 1 million to 5 million and very profitable? It's because I narrowed my audience.
Yeah.
Really focused. So those 3 are very, very foundational, and most people just stop right there. So I'm not going to talk about those 3 as we dive into this. The other 3 are go deep, be an authority, and have a unique positioning in your market.
Yeah, because those are sort of the mechanics of it too, right? It's maybe that's part of your to-do list besides sort of creating harmonic, but going deep, and how do you actually build that authority? How do you step out and become unique as well?
Yep. And I see this everywhere. Let's take deep for example, because it's really easy to see, right? Did you
what do you mean by that, Gene? First, just to clarify, by going deep, is that?
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So I write for Entrepreneur Magazine.
Yeah.
I'm kind of limited to 800 words, really less than 1,000. And so it's actually harder to write an 800-word article than it is to write something that's like 2,000 words for me, because I don't get to give that emotional connection in there. I have to. There's a lot of stuff that gets cut out, and a lot of times we read these little articles or whatever it may be, and we skim them, and they move on, and they never make it really a dent in our lives. But we read something like a book.
Yeah.
Everyone's got that one book or 2 books that they've read going, that opened my eyes up to something really different. A book is an example of deep. So you may learn something from an article, but you're probably going to go to the book or go to the source to find the deepness of it. One example I recently did, and it's a really powerful example around speaking. I speak on stages all the time. My clients are speaking on stages. It's part of the authority, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But I took it upon myself to interview 59 conference hosts and meeting planners around the speaker selection process. Now, I don't know anyone else that has talked to 59 meeting planners and conference hosts for 30 minutes to get their insight around how to best get their attention, how to serve them, and how and frankly what not to do.
Yeah, that's a really good combination there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I created a report that's 25 pages long.
Yeah.
That one report is not something you can Google. You can't Google, and I've done this because I looked at this many different ways, how to get on speaking engagements. There's a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of commodity or shallow kind of content. There's very few deep pieces that really do add value. And I've gotten more results from people talking about that one piece in my business than I have in anything I'd done before that point, because I decided to go deep.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So really that helped, understand your customer who would potentially hire you, but also gave them some insights as well, because you were kind of feeding back what others were saying. Yeah. I really like that. That's good.
And there's an emotional connection to depth.
Yeah.
We value people who have put in the time and the experience, who've been in the trenches, and who have really understood this and uncovered it from multiple perspectives and whatnot. So I say that deep is kind of a very important piece, because if you are only in the shallow world, then you will get probably shallow clients. And if you really work in this area of deepness, you will find the best clients. They will see you as an expert,
yeah,
and they will emotionally connect with what you have to offer. And if you create something that's ungoogleable, right, it makes it even more powerful, because it really does position.
I was gonna ask, Gene, like, how do you know if you're shallow or you're deep? Is it about seeing what's out there, or just trying to discover some new concepts or new ideas, or what is it?
I talk to clients about this all the time, and I give them examples. Is the best thing I can know. If you are a leadership coach, or you are a digital marketer or something like that, and you're only putting out the 500 to 1,000 word kind of post, you're probably in the shallow end.
Yeah.
If you are, and I was literally just talking to a client of mine who does SEO, and he's like, we used to offer the 5 to 6 blog posts a month for clients, and we're looking back over our data. It's not getting the results that when we put together 2 epic pieces per month. And I know that's very detailed, but this is not about like my gut feeling, like you should, I'm not telling you to write a book. This is just like putting together 2,000 words on something that has sources and has depth and data, and it really speaks to all aspects of learning.
Yeah.
You really think about that. And if you actually do that, people will see you as that recognized expert.
Okay. And we all don't have to write a book.
Nope, you don't have to. It's hard work. Hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. I've got number 2 coming out at the end of November. So so what happens after going deep? So that I really love that explanation, that, you look at the depth that you're offering and providing as well, because that is how you're going to create that connection. So claiming authority.
I think authority is a big part of that. I think they all work together. Like these all kind of intertwine together.
Yeah.
6 principles. But authority is something that we recognize. I mean, people who have podcasts, people that have books, people that are speaking on stages, people that are creating content. Some people may refer to this as thought leadership.
Right.
Thought leadership is really a quite simple thing, that you have a point of view, you have something that you believe, and that you're willing to stand for that. And you're willing to teach others about this and show them the insight. Now, if you combine that with depth, you got something, because you're not only got the knowledge, they see you as that authority.
Yeah.
Right? The recognized expert. And that is where I'm a little old school in this. Like it's hard to build authority through an email sequence.
Yes.
I think you can do it, but I'm not the best at that.
Yeah.
I'm much better when I get on the stage in front of someone face to face. So speaking to me is an accelerator to authority, and the work that it takes to get there requires some depth.
And there's a lot of fluff too with the whole concept, unfortunately, of thought leader. Like, if you have to call yourself one, then are you really one, type thing. Obviously, there's exceptions to that, but without that depth, without that authority, you can call whatever you want. But thought leader is not one of them. Is that correct? Or
I mean, I kind of caution people away from calling themselves thought leaders or even experts. I don't think in my bio it says expert. I'm looking on the back of my book.
Better check.
It talks about what I do and how I do it, but it doesn't talk about the expert. It doesn't talk about thought leadership.
Okay.
I think that is something
that kind of
best
comes
left
naturally, right? As a
Yes,
result.
yeah, it's best left to the impression of the audience.
Yeah.
Authority is not what you say it is,
Mm.
it's what they say about you. When you leave the room, do they say, he knows his stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or she knows exactly what I'm going through? And that's about emotional connection. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, fantastic. So what are some of the ways of, so speaking is one of the ways of developing authority, having depth. How else can you get out there and create this authority?
I mean, all those marketing strategies can create authority. Let's take webinars. I don't run that many webinars. I do them every once in a while, but let's say a webinar or a live stream like this, like we're doing. Like, you're putting yourself out there. You're assembling these experts. I've been watching you for a long time, Doyle. You're doing a great job with this, and that's the reason I'm on the show, is because I noticed you.
Thanks, Gene.
And it was pretty consistent too. It wasn't one time flash in the pan, because I might not have paid attention if I only saw you one time. I wouldn't remember. But it was very consistent. I saw what you were doing, and it's like, okay, this is a good. And this is, I don't use live streams the way you're using them. This is a part of your authority strategy, and you're adding value. So you've got to look at that. For me, it's speaking. Like, for me, it's literally getting on the stage, giving that moment. I'm stepping up. I'm trying to give of myself to connect with the audience, to give something, be vulnerable, and really push forward. And face to face, nose to nose, toes to toes is where I live.
Yeah.
And so I really think that has an unfair advantage on most of these authority kind of tracks. But writing can be a very good, like, I know people that just write and they do really well.
Good. And so what about those? I was just going to actually ask that question, but what about the people who may be a little bit shy to kind of speak in front of people? Because there's, stats are always floating around.
Yep.
Like, people would rather die than speak, kind of thing.
It is. I saw Warren Buffett the other day.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett was on a video, and it was about like 10 kind of secrets or something like that. And he was number one. And Warren Buffett, I wouldn't say is the most eloquent speaker.
Right.
He probably spends a lot of time by himself. I've heard he doesn't have this laptop thing to bother himself. He's got lots of paperwork and lots of reports that he's looking at, and probably a lot of books that he reads. But he has said that the art of communication is one of the most important aspects of your growth. So if you have complete hesitancy to doing this, then you're missing opportunities. The better you're at doing it, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. And it really is something to embrace. Now, a lot of people will give me this, well, I'm an introvert. Some of the best speakers in the world are introverts. My wife, amazing speaker, she's an introvert. But she rises to the occasion. She knows she's got to make her message out there. So I think that if you're hesitant to speaking, it's something you really need to look at. Like, are you missing opportunities because you have this fear? Or do you want to live that way? Or do you want to have the courage to move past it?
Yeah, and that's a good point. Is what courage do you have to kind of move past it? And we kind of get caught up in our own stuff too. So you have to step past and step beyond and look at how you can build that authority. Now that moves us on to kind of the one of the last steps, I believe, is being unique, and a lot of that is really difficult because, again, it's a buzzword. We could say, well, we're all unique type thing, but at the essence, how do you define that, and how do you actually integrate that?
I agree, we are all unique, but we tend to blend in more than we stand out. And here's the reality: most of us didn't get in business to blend in, but that's just what has happened. We're either following the lead of others, we're looking at what they're doing and trying to be similar because that's a proven path. But when I think about unique, I've got this phrase, and unique is better than best. Now, if we break that down just a little bit, if you say you're better than someone else, there's emotion from the emotional standpoint. Have you noticed that if someone says they're better, do you emotionally connect to that or not connect?
If they just say it, do you mean?
Well, if they said that their solution, let's say my software is better than XYZ competitor.
Yeah, but they also throw around the word that it's a unique software solution, and yes, it's better than XYZ competitor. And to me, it that doesn't say very much. It's like, well, everybody else says that too. So
everybody else does it. Yeah. So exactly right. Internally, we disconnect when people say that they're better. Now, when people say that they're the best, we wonder who donned them the best. Where did they get the crown? Where did they get the trophy? And we don't necessarily connect to that. But if you stood on, hey, what we find is we're unique in this way. Let me give you an example. If I was showing the slides, it would be the slides where Beats headphones are on there. Everyone has headphones, right? Everyone has either the cheap ones that kind of come in with our phones, or we get on the airplanes. But some people go, I don't need cheap headphones. I need noise-canceling headphones.
Yes.
Bose is at the top of the market. They didn't decide to come up with the best headphones. They came up with the ones that are noise-canceling so that when you get on the plane or you're trying to work, you can block out the world and focus in on what you need to focus on. That's a unique expression of them. So they don't talk about being better. They don't talk about being best. They talk about that unique aspect. And then you have 80 major companies in the headphone market. So it's not even that crowded, but they're the only ones that talk about noise canceling. And then you have the flip side of that, which is Beats, very popular, headphones. They are not noise canceling. They're, how do you feel the music in my chest? How do you feel the bass, right? You see the unique expression there?
Yeah.
And so if you think about that within your business, how are you unique? How are you expressing that and explaining that? And if you do a poor job with it, people don't necessarily see that your solution would be as valuable.
So what kind of questions could you ask yourself then to find that uniqueness in words or in actions?
I'm asking questions. Got to think about that for a second. Caught me off guard, Doyle. I'm asking questions around their industry and how they can create that blue ocean for themselves. Like, what are the places where we can move into that there is a gap in the opportunity, but not anybody's really claiming that place. And so it's hard to uncover it, but I'm asking, what do they want to be known for? How is what they do unlocking the promise of their offer? One of my clients that we were just talking about this, and literally it just came up around SEO. A lot of agencies probably listening in here. He's like, the shallow content and the commodity content is not where we are shining. We're shining with these deeper epic pieces. Now, I know it combines some of my other stuff, but that's a unique element to them. And there's more to it than that, but that's one good place to start. Let me add to this, Doyle, just quickly. We tend to share the unique. We don't share the commonplace.
I see. Okay. We
take pictures on social media of the unique, this piece of toast looks like Jesus, or this looks like that. That is important to understand, because if you want your business to grow beyond this, you want people to talk about it. If you have a unique element that you can hang your hat on, people will talk about what you're doing, and you can really make it more powerful, especially if you go deep, and especially if you become the authority in that market. You tell great stories and you create content around it. That's the way I see the world.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And it works too, right? I mean, you're a shining example of how to put these principles in place and make them work too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so what comes next? Like, once they've got all these pieces together, like, what direction should they take do they write this down? Do they talk about it? Do they make a to-do list?
I thought about this because I just did a speech and I changed some of the speech stuff. I don't think it's trying to do all of them at one time because we're already overloaded. And I do believe in let's follow the strengths. So which one of the 6 are you already best at? And so the exercise I give from the stage is, where are you with each one of these right now? What number from 1 to 10? 10 being, I got it covered. I can't go really any further, which is probably rare. So maybe you give yourself a 9 on stuff that you're really, really good at. And then 1 being, I don't do this at all.
Yeah.
So if you ranked yourself from 1 to 10 on each one of them where you are now, and then you came back and ranked yourself where you want to be in 3 years. And you get to see where you are best at. And I would actually say, if you're a 7 in one place, how do you get that to a 9? And just work on the 1. Just work on the one thing that will make all the others rise up with you. Because let's say that one thing is deep, as an example. If you go out there and create a deep piece around what you're doing, it'll be easier for people to book you on stages. The best example I can give you personal to my life is in the last 4 weeks, I took it upon myself to go into my next level of deep on hyper growth. I've been talking to the Inc. 5000 list CEOs. There's 5,000 of them. That's a lot. I've had conversations with 45 in the last 4 weeks. And I'm doing this specifically because I had clients that hit the Inc. 5000 list because of their hyper growth. Yep. And I wanted to understand what are the disciplines. So I kind of said, well, what are the 7 disciplines? This is where it started. I just hypothesis. Are there 7 disciplines? Well, of course there are. How do I categorize them and what are they? And I actually thought of about 3 or 4 of them. I kind of, this is, me having a good cup of coffee. I just sat back and go, how do I, what do I think are the disciplines? And then I got on the phone and I'm able to use my authority to get on the phone with these CEOs, and I researched and had conversations. Now the result is this. It's not digital, but this is the interviews with 45 CEOs of multiple $1 million businesses growing at 1,000% a year.
Nice.
Valuable, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I took that and I said, this would make a killer speech. This is really good stuff. A really killer speech. And so I've talked about it with 3 or 4 organizers. I haven't written the speech yet, but I've talked about it and they all want it. The 3 times I talked about it, they want the speech. Now it's a new speech. I don't really want to write a new speech. I want to use the other ones and ride those horses, but this is so new and so powerful. It's unique. It has authority to it because I've gone deep and I can tell stories around this. And I do have the seven disciplines of hyper growth. And I created a report behind it. It's like 20 pages long. It's got data and it's a driving force in my business right now. That's one place where you can start. Nice. Does that help as an example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really kind of outlined that to say, this is where you need to head. This is, and what you're really doing is you're asking a fundamental question, right? What are the Fortune 5000, doing? Physically, what are they doing? How are they growing their business? And you're asking a legitimate question, and then you're going through that discovery to pull that answer out. And yeah, I find it really fascinating.
And it's work.
It is work. It's not easy.
And I was blown away because I have authority. One of the things I do is I write for Entrepreneur Magazine. Yep. And so I was able to say, I'm doing some research on hyper growth. Your company has grown at this much amount. And I would love to get insights from your story and include you in this research in this article I'm writing. Yeah. And all of a sudden they filled up my calendar. Yeah. And
oh, fantastic.
And it's a great strategy to not only connect with them, but to uncover this information. And then I use it back. And it might even be my next book. Like, I don't want to get that place, but that's what I think is pick one area. Yeah. And move it as far along as you can, and then measure your results, and then pick another area. So it's not do all of them at one time. Pick the one and move forward and let them layer on top of each other.
Yeah, so be very systematic. And yeah, I mean, this kind of goes with digital strategy, right? And business strategy in general, is that you can't look at how do you build an overnight success. You kind of have to, how do you actually build a long-term business with some great value at the end? Now, what about if you don't have, say, that leverage of Entrepreneur Magazine behind you? Say you are a smaller business, or you are kind of going through those things. What would you recommend? Because an entrepreneur does carry some authority with it itself. So if you don't have that, what other options would you have?
You can do the work to get there. Some are easier than others. Like you could write for Huffington Post pretty easily. Yeah. You can do LinkedIn, right? Yeah. You can write for Pulse. You could do Medium. So it's there. You could do your own blog. That, unless you've got a well-known kind of following and whatnot, not as strong. You could be researching your next book. That's one thought, right? Yeah. And researching your next book doesn't mean you're going to write it. It means you're looking for the storyline, the premise behind it, and you need to talk to people to do that. This is very common. I mean, I didn't just sit down with a book one day and say I'm just going to write it. I had to live it. Yeah. And another way to do it is podcasting. So having a podcast, or all of a sudden be live. Yep. Right? Or some kind of Facebook Live kind of platform. So it's there if you want to come up with it.
Perfect. And that's a fantastic way to end. I think we'll have to have you back on the show, Gene, and maybe we could talk about how to get onto Entrepreneur Magazine and how to talk to CEOs.
Yeah. I mean, I actually have a report around that. So free training if anybody wanted it.
Cool.
Let me know.
Yeah, no, for sure. So thank you so much for your time, Gene. Really appreciate it. I'm going to be posting the slides that have some of the points as well that you highlighted, as well as the links that are going to be in that on the Facebook notes and LinkedIn articles as well as we get into this. So once again, thank you so much, Gene. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. And for all the watchers, thanks for watching. As I typically go into this, there's 3 categories that we go through as part of these Digital Leadership Facebook Live events: the State of Digital, where I talk about specific ideas and insights happening right now, how they affect your business and what you can do about it. Digital Leadership guests. Today I had the great opportunity to speak with Gene Hammett, an expert in the field, and I did use expert, and discuss their strategies for success. And finally, Digital Discovery, Ask Your Marketing and Strategy Q&A. So thanks again for watching. Please leave a comment or an emoticon in the comments box, and we'll see everybody online. Thank you.